Thank you so much, Pam. Welcome, everyone. It is a treat and an honor to have you back for our fourth and final session. Today, we're going to be getting out of here and going to planet Earth, not to Florida like some of you. I'm very jealous of that. Someone's at the beach. But we're going to be talking about space and how I engage my students in learning about space. So the title is Out of This World, Exploring Space While Remembering to Love Earth. When you start learning with children about other planets and other places in our solar system, you start realizing how colorful, how lively, and just how amazing our planet is and how special it is. And it's fun to share that with our young students. So I want to see if you guys are as good as my husband is at this game. Type into the chat box if you can the answer to this joke. If you no cheating, please. Cheaters don't win. That's what I tell the students, no cheating. How do you organize a party in space? Think for a second. I'll give you just a second if you have an answer. I am terrible at thinking of the answer to a joke, by the way. My husband always can do it. And it always seems to. So if you think you know, I will answer this joke. We're just going to start with a couple jokes because the kids love them. Pam, will you let me know if anyone typed an answer? And if you don't,
I absolutely will. So give them a minute to think about it.
how do you organize a party in space?
I'm still thinking. I love a good joke.
When you see the answer, it's going to seem so easy. And if nobody has an answer, that's okay. I wouldn't have the answer. All right, Pam, can I scroll and give them the answer?
Okay, go ahead. Give us the answer.
You plan it. I
I
told you it was going to seem obvious. Okay, this one's even easier. What kind of music do the planets enjoy rocking out to? If you have a guess, type it in.
Okay, we're waiting.
We're waiting. I'm going to give you a few seconds. This one's even easier. Okay, think through.
Rocket,
Space rock, rock
I do
music.
the rocket. That's a good one. That's a good idea. It's not the answer though. Okay, are we ready?
We're ready.
Neptunes, guys.
What is it?
Neptunes.
Oh my God.
I know. Okay. Anyhow, so to get my kiddos excited, of course, we use fun jokes, we build background knowledge, but my beginning of this unit that was so fun this year, my anticipatory set, how we're going to get our kids excited, was using a new book called May Among the Stars. Some of you maybe have read this story. It is the true story of the first Black female to travel to space, but she was so much more. She knew, I think, 5 languages. She was also a teacher and she was a professional dancer. She had many, many talents and skills, and she's super inspiring. I think I shared with you guys at one of the presentations that when I was a child, I never, ever, ever was taught about a female scientist. It didn't even occur to me as a child that I could be a scientist. My father was a civil engineer. My mother was a nurse. Nobody really praised me for academics. Nobody praised me for things like that. It was more, you're pretty. You have a pretty dress. I like your hair, things like that. And so I really liked this story because I could see when I read it how it inspired my female students and how they were like, oh, at some parts of it. Because when Mae Jemison was a child, she was told by her very own teacher when she announced she wanted to be an astronaut, do you want to be a nurse maybe? And that story to my sister was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe her teacher would say that. And so we had a really nice conversation about that. And it's a really great celebratory text. And one of the things I like most about May Among the Stars is it is pretty short. It is not as lengthy as some of the books that we have that are going to inform our students about different scientists. So this was a way I piqued interest among my students. And I hope you guys, if you do apply for a grant, this would be a fabulous add to your collection. Sorry, there we go. And after we did read this story. One of my students dropped this off at my house. This is Miss Steph and May Jemison, because I told my students that story. Students love hearing their teachers' stories from childhood. I tell them every year a set of probably about a dozen stories. One of them, of the time I stole a tube of lipstick, that really happened when I was a child. And it's a story they can learn from. And so when I tell them the story about how when I was a child, nobody told me, hey, you would be a great scientist or you could be anything you want, um, it really resonated with a lot of my students. And I think one of my little students took away from this that you are like Miss May Jemison, Miss Steph. You could do anything. And she drew a little portrait of the two of us. And she used her multicultural crayons that I sent, that we talked about in Happy in My Skin. And I thought it was very cute. Another thing, one of the resources I've included, we did a little writing about May Jemison. One part of the book that is so powerful is when little May goes home to her mother and tells her that her teacher said she should be a nurse. Her mother replied to her, if you can dream it, if you can believe it, and if you can work hard for it, anything is possible. And that's something that May carried with her as a child. And so I have a quote here from the book. When little May was a child, she dreamed of dancing in space. She imagined herself surrounded by billions of stars, floating, gliding, and discovering. She wanted to be an astronaut. Her mom told her, if you believe it and work hard for it, anything is possible. And on our writing prompt, I do include that quote in case you send writing home with your students, or you have a writing journal that they get to take home at the end of the year that you add your writing prompts to. It's really great when you have a little bit of information about the text you read at the top, so that maybe the parents, if they see, okay, you read May and the Stars, they can go to the library and check that book out, or say, oh, who's this about? May Jemison. Let's look that up. I've never heard. And it just makes that home connection so much better. And so that's why I added the quote from the book and a little bit of information. And this is just a writing prompt for students to basically think of something that they dream of doing that seems really hard, seems almost impossible, and asking them to write about what dream they could achieve if they work hard, believe in themselves, and continue working at it. And I love that, because really it's our job to keep empowering kids to chase those dreams and letting them know, and you're going to have to do a lot of work to get there. Nothing comes easy, right? And so in this unit, I am going to include a lot of writing prompts. And so one way I like to organize stuff like that in my classroom is with writing binders. And so everything would just be printed on paper that's already pre-stamped with holes, or you can just stamp with your hole punch the holes, and they can just insert it in their binder. And then they'll have a nice collection of all their writing samples from the year. And it's a really great thing to send home at the end of the year. I have another question, and this one is just yes or no. It should be easy. Have you tried astronaut ice cream? Go ahead and give us a yes or a no. And Miss Pam, I'm going to have you count those answers.
I sure will.
Now, this one, you can't say I don't know the answer to this. Okay, that is not an option. Yes or no. I'm just interested. This is just out of pure curiosity. Some of you may not know what astronaut ice cream it is. I'm going to go ahead and turn the slide up in the right-hand corner there. You can actually see some astronaut ice cream. And Pam, when you have the results, will you let me know?
I sure will.
Thank you, Madame.
Someone even mentioned that they have tried, Mario has tried mint chocolate chip, and he said it's the best.
I disagree with Mario. Neapolitan is the best, Claire. You
All
can
right,
tell Mario I've tried the mint chocolate chip.
So we have more yeses than no. Out of our yeah, we had 10 people answer, and 6 said yes, 4 said no.
Awesome. Well, I'm an incredibly picky eater, and I love astronaut ice cream, which is just freeze-dried ice cream, precisely like the ones they would send into space with the astronauts. And so I have in the past, astronaut ice cream is very expensive. I think freeze-dried ice cream would be cheap. It is not. But I have in the past actually bought a few containers and cut it up and given it to kiddos to try, which makes them feel really special. So the next book I want to talk to you about is an older book. Maybe some of you have read it if you decide to go to the moon. This is a very lengthy text. However, it is a wonderful simulation of going to the moon, meaning the text is going to talk to the kids about what it is like from start, leaving Earth, and to coming home, step by step, getting in, counting down, what it feels like when you get there. It's a really beautiful story, and it's beautiful illustrations by Stephen Kellogg. And I would pair this with lots of acting. You definitely want to also build up background knowledge. You guys, have you ever thought about what it would be like to go to the moon? Let's talk about that for a moment. And give them a couple highlights, maybe show them before you read it, the video that I've linked here and in our lesson plan, which is a wonderful video of astronauts actually eating in outer space on the International Space Station. And I also did link where you can buy astronaut ice cream. You can buy it here in Albuquerque locally at our Natural History Museum as well, which is a great place to support. However, we did this book. My kids always love this book year in and year out. And my favorite part about the book is that at the very end of the book does a great job of showing you how lonely the moon is and how different celestial bodies in our solar system or in our universe are to our knowledge from our planet. And at the end, when you come back to Earth, it's just like, look at Earth, our wonderful planet, so bountiful and full of life. And so I always like to do a little compare and contrast. This can be done, with older children. They do the writing on their own, but with younger children, of course, I usually have a huge Venn diagram on my Promethean board or in my classroom, and they tell me answers and things that I would write for them, but using a Venn diagram to kind of compare the two places from the context of that book. And then we did a writing about what we love most about our planet, because our planet is much more beautiful and interesting than the moon when you learn. I mean, the moon would be fun for me about 5 minutes, I think. And then I'd be like, okay, I need to go back to Earth. I think during the pandemic, we all appreciate just experiences we can have. And we also do a kickoff to a nightly routine I do with students. This is a book that I love, 2 books actually, Kittens' First Full Moon by Kevin Hankes and Mooncake. Kittens' First Full Moon is a story I love. It's just a nonfiction text. A fiction text that has silly information, a little kitten, new to the world, limited understanding of the world, sees her first full moon and thinks it's a bowl of milk waiting for her. And that's a Caldecott winner. So many of you probably have heard of it. It's a brilliant book. And I do a guided drawing of kitten with my students. I don't have instructions for that. You'd have to kind of practice your method of drawing kitten, since we all have a little bit different artistic styles, but we usually do that and write about the silliest part of that story. Mooncake is a beautiful story about a bear, very old Frank Ash story. And Bear in the story wants to taste the moon, and he builds a rocket, but he falls asleep in his rocket. And when he wakes up, it's winter, something he's never experienced because usually he's hibernating. And when he gets out of his rocket ship, he thinks the snow is the moon, and he eats it and he tells the bird. It's very familiar flavor. And it's a really silly story. So we do this as a kickoff to something we're going to do for a month, and I have included this resource. So basically, I told you when we studied weather, told you when we studied animals, these are all things that are accessible to our kids. They're animals in any environment, whether it's a cucaracha in your house or the skunks that were in my neighbor's yard the other night. But you have access to the night sky. All of our students do. If they live in a city, they might have a little bit of light pollution, but they're going to have access to the night sky. And so we're going to use that to our advantage with a nice little project for home. We're going to send home night sky observation journals and a moon calendar. The moon calendar is going to be blank. It's a great opportunity for students to add the numerals in the month and learn about that and kind of practice writing their numbers. But they're going to document the moon phases that they observe every night over a month. Of course, sometimes you can't see the moon because of the weather. Something to document, right? You can document whatever you do see. You don't have to worry about what you're not seeing. And also space station sightings. So if you go to spotthestation.nasa.gov, and I suggest you do, you can sign up your location exactly where you are so that you can get text and email alerts as to when you can see the space station outside. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And there is a component in the journal that I've included to record date time of space station sightings. I'm kind of a nerd. I love watching the space station. We do it not usually in the early morning, but at night. And I always tell my students, like, oh, I always tell them to go look. And it's really exciting. Sometimes their parents are a little annoyed because I'll say, you know what? The space station's going to be above us at 8:54 p.m. for 7 minutes tonight. If your bedtime's at 8:30, you can tell your parents that I said that you should watch the space station. And then, oh, I get to stay up a little late and go outside with my family, watch the space station, and do my little picture of it. It's really fun. They also will tell you the angle that it will be at, where you can see it, and which direction it comes and leaves, and exactly how long. And I love watching the space station. My son, we have been doing that with him since he was probably before he was age 2. It's really fun. Also, I've included in your lesson plan in here, you can watch astronauts reading stories from the space station, which is fabulous. They have tons of read out louds, and this is just an image I took from one of their YouTube videos. Definitely worth checking out and watching with your students. Really magical stuff for them, and keeping them dreaming about space. Costs nothing, but it's something accessible to them. If you are decadent like I am, and I do a lot of stuff with food, and I know some of you are staff that has too much sugar. You are right, it is too much sugar. But one way you can, I don't, this is the most fun way to do you cannot argue with me on this. There is no way more fun to make moon phases than with Oreo cookies. And I think this is a great project. And one way that I think would be cool to use it is to send the Oreos home. If you could get someone to donate enough Oreos, the full size Oreos work better than the minis. The minis are cheaper though. Is that you could send home some, and you could tell your kids, if you go out and remember to look at the moon that night, you can come back in and do the moon phase with your Oreo cookie. You also could do them in one sitting, but in school with the minis, or every day do a different one, give everybody one Oreo to do. But they would need little plastic butter knives or something to carve it out. And it's just, I don't know. I think this is the best way to show the moon phases. I really think it's very memorable for them. And the minis are going to be harder but cheaper. Also, modeling orbiting around Sun and Earth. This is a pretty easy one, and I did include a link to the lesson on this one. This is not my original idea, but it's a great one. In my classroom, I have one of these. This is the exact same tool. We also act this out, and you can still act this out with social distancing, meaning I used to make a child stand in the middle of the room. I would wrap them up in a yellow sheet, not their face, their body, like they were cocooned. They were the sun. Don't move. You don't move. You're a star. You don't move. You're the sun. And it's, you can teach the kids about the order of the planets. You can make them make a model of it. But I think for kindergarten, personally, just understanding that the earth revolves around the sun while rotating, and you could do this with kids 6 feet apart. Okay, you're my sun. You're the earth now. Here's your blue sheet. You're going to spin around and around. They think it's hilarious, spinning around and around, rotating while they're revolving around their friend who's the sun. And then the moon, speaking of the moon, is going to do the same thing around the earth. Now, we have one of the things that comes up is, well, why do we only see one? If this moon is actually rotating, why do we only see one side of it? Because it is synchronized with our rotation is that answer, which is a little complex for younger kids to understand. But with this method, with the brads you see, and the earth and the sun and the moon and the paper, you can create, each child can create one of these of their own. And I think this will make it so much easier when they're a little bit older to really understand that all of our planets are doing the same thing around our sun. So I thought that was a really great way to model that. That was developmentally appropriate and pretty fun for the kids. So I just wanted to share that with you. I'm going to keep going. Also, if you're not into the Oreos for allergy reasons, health reasons, cost reasons, this is a fun thing that I always did with my students. We take different types of moons that they can cut out on gray paper. We put those in a box lid. It also could be a cookie sheet with as long as it has an edge around it. And then just some marbles and white paint and just moving it back and forth so you get kind of an abstract moon look to it, and doing the phases that way. That's another choice that you could make. I know Pluto's not in here anymore, which is another thing. Just a reminder, we always have to go back with science and have the newest literature, and sometimes defer to experts on things. But another thing, of course, you can model the planets. People do it with styrofoam, people do it with food, people do it with chalk on UNM campus. When I was in a science class at the university, I remember going around the campus and trying to measure out how far do we have to walk away now to do, Saturn. It was a big, huge day job, and we had a lot of fun doing it. But on one thing for kinders, I just want them to know the names of the planets, honestly. And I do teach them a mnemonic device. Mnemonic devices will only work for children who know their letter sounds, of course, but my very educated monkey just served us noodles. I plan to draw a silly looking character for this one, because this is the one, it used to be when I was a kid, my very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas, but I don't know. I think monkey is more interesting to the kids. And so I think this is a great way to remember the order from the sun, of the planets. So it's something I use with my kids. And if I do draw this out, I will get you guys a copy. I have not made this yet. I just kind of developed this for this workshop. I was thinking, what is the best way for kids to remember? This book here, I talk about everything space. It's a nice balance of facts and fun, and is a good book to have on hand, along with so many others that would be a good resource for questions. Also, with anything we do with students, we want to remember that we need to keep them up with the current events that are happening in space and the current knowledge that scientists are constantly getting. And as an educator, it's almost impossibly, I mean, you're not a walking encyclopedia. We need to look up information. So it's a good idea if you consider a bulletin board in your school or a section of your website to keep kiddos updated on the most recent things. And I did link lots of places for you guys to go, including NASA's website, the area where you can learn about the newest missions, which is great. Earth Day is coming, and this is a perfect opportunity to be studying our solar system, space, stars, our sun, and our Earth, of course. This is a book I mentioned. We talked about the one that's about the sun. This is a little bit of the history of our planet, our abundant and beautiful planet, Planet Earth. I love this book, and it's pretty easy. I also included a song for you guys that I do when we do our Earth Day. And I did give you a link to the YouTube video, but I am going to sing it with you right now and show you some movements I do, because we know that when kids are moving their bodies, they are crossing their midlines and they are building their brains. So let's go ahead. It's called Earth Day, and this is a song by Dr. Gene Feldman. I have met Dr. Gene at least 3 times at NACE conferences. Yes, I go right back to the same workshop because I just love her so much. And she truly is a joyful presenter and educator, and she writes songs for kids. Most of you have probably heard of her. She's fabulous. And I really like this song called Earth Day. Here we go. Earth Day, let's all come together. Earth Day, to make our world much better. 'cause we love our planet Earth, beautiful and blue. We want to take care of it with everything we do. We can recycle, tell your friends and neighbors. Glass, aluminum, plastic, and paper. 'Cause we love our planet Earth, beautiful and blue. We want to take care of it with everything we do. We can plant a tree or two to create green spaces, walk or ride our bikes to go different places. 'Cause we love our planet Earth, beautiful and blue. We want to take care of it with everything we do. I love that song. I love getting the kids to sing about things that are also learning targets, understanding recycling, what items are recyclable, planting a tree, using other modes of transportation other than things that rely on natural gas. Those are wonderful things for our students. So please make sure you're singing with your kiddos. I know right now I'm not even sure if we're allowed to sing. But we could listen to that song, I think, without singing and dance to it at least. And I did include a wonderful song card. These are great if you ever do presentations where your students sing to their families. It's great to have a song card to send home too, so they can practice at home. You get a better result if they're doing some practice at home. Thanks for tolerating me singing once again. We also do Earth Day art and promises to planet Earth. If we're learning about our planet, and we're learning about how important it is to protect our planet and to protect those species on our planet and to protect the people on our planet and the water on our planet. You definitely want to encourage your kids to do a little Earth Day art. And this year, what I'm doing, it's super duper easy. You just need a coffee filter and a blue and a green marker and a spray bottle of water. And so, what I do with my students is I have them, we talk about how most of our planet is made of water. So, I want you to just draw some land in green. And I usually will sing to them the continent song. It's very simple. I did not give this to you. So, if you like this, you might want to write it down. But it goes, these are the continents, these are the continents, these are the continents of our world: North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia. Don't forget Antarctica. Don't forget Australia. These are the continents, these are the continents, these are the continents of the world. There's 7 students, 7. We live on North America. Now, there's not a time where I bring out my globe or talk about our planet or continent without quickly singing that song. I mean, I just want them to get those stuck in their head. There are 7 continents. You're old enough to kind of start making sense of that. So I say draw your continents, draw, they can be shaped however you want. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then you just spritz it with water, and then we talk about what we love, how we're going to love Earth by making an Earth promise. And I always tell them a real story. I'll be like, sometimes I'm lazy about recycling. Like I don't feel like rinsing out the can of beans and putting in the recycle. It's easier to throw it away. And I'm telling you this, and I'm going to promise I'm going to stop that for you guys, because this is your world too. I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to wash my cans and put them in the recycle every single time. I promise. Will you guys hold me accountable for this promise? Yes, Miss Steph, of course. What are you going to do? What are you going to do for your planet? And I'm going to talk to you about some books that are great for this, about reusing, reducing, and recycling. If we're talking about Earth Day, these are beautiful stories. Ada's Violin is from Paraguay. It's a true story of a recycled orchestra. It's beautiful. The Dump Man's Treasures is about a man who collects trash to give libraries to children. Don't Throw That Away is a very basic board book text for kids about recycling. And Joseph Had a Little Overcoat is precious. And it's about Joseph who had a little overcoat. And once that wore out, he made it into a sweater, and then it gets smaller. And at the end, it's just a little tiny little hanky. It's a very cute story, and Scholastic has a great video of it with a wonderful song that goes along with it. And it's so darn catchy. I actually love that song. It gets stuck in your head, and that's great. And it's a wonderful story. So those are 4 stories that I use in my own classroom. I always like a diverse text that has a true story element of it too. And I think these 4 are just, I could go on and on about literature, but these are the ones that I really wanted to make sure you knew about today. And in our school, we have a campus cleanup every week. A different class is assigned to clean the campus up. And I take this job so seriously with my students. I like to monthly take my students out around our school campus with lots of trash bags, and we just pick up every speck of trash. And that might sound miserable, but kids love it. They love to run outside with their teacher and their classmates. It's fun for them. And we always then take a nice group picture in front of our mountain of trash that we consolidate into one big bag. And if you are virtual and you can't do this, they can do it on their own in their community and post pictures of it on your classroom. But always when you're teaching, we should always be looking for those natural opportunities for kids to come up with service learning projects. They stem from problems. When there's a problem and the kids find it on their own, they can start thinking of solutions. And when we give kids opportunities for solutions, you are giving them so much. You're giving them so much for them to be in charge, because guess what? When a kid comes up with the solution and then gets to implement the solution, guess who's the superhero? They are, and they know it and they believe it. You can kind of set them up to come to these conclusions in service learning if you're very methodical and very precise. Sometimes they come when you don't know they're coming, but this is a good opportunity. Well, what can we do for planet Earth? Have you guys ever, showing kids pictures of litter on beaches, birds trapped up, it can make kids sad, but honestly, those images are pretty powerful, and kids do have this intrinsic empathy for animals that, oh my gosh, that animal's trapped. I don't like that. And another writing prompt you could use if you do a writing journal and a binder like I do, where you keep adding writing prompts to your binder. How did it feel when you helped clean up our campus? I love when we're doing campus cleanup, when neighborhood people are walking their dogs and they're like, good job. I get so mad when they don't say anything. It's like, don't you notice the kid picking up the trash? Could you say something? But when neighbors are like, oh my gosh, kids, thank you. The kids are so proud. It's a really great thing to do. This was in Santa Fe. I don't know if it's there anymore. This huge life-sized whale that I think it's a blue whale, it might be a humpback. I'm pretty sure it's a blue whale, made out of recycled items. I love this. I don't think it's in Santa Fe anymore. I could be wrong, but I love to show kiddos examples of people using garbage and making something beautiful out of it. And this is a perfect example. And it's just, as you can see, the people over here, this is life size. Very cool. And that is another thing. We're going to do a family project. So in my classroom, years ago at Navajo Elementary School in the South Valley of Albuquerque, we used to have what we called Stargazer Night. And Stargazer Night was a family event that the kids and their families came to. In the evening, we would call the museum, or we would call UNM students from the astronomy department to bring and set up telescopes outdoors. And then inside, every kindergarten teacher would have a different space theme activity set up in the room. The activity that I did was called Walking on the Moon. And this is not really a COVID safe activity, but what I would do, I had a huge white sheet. I cut it into a circular shape and I tie-dyed it. I just dyed it gray. And so it looked like a huge moon. And I would put tons of pillows and stuffed animals under this huge round sheet on the middle of my floor. And I would take those huge sponges and tie it to the kids' feet. And they would just clomp around on the sponges and pretend they were walking on the moon. It was a very silly activity. And when they were done, we would take their foot and we would paint their foot with paint, and we'd stamp their foot on the paper, and they'd get a certificate with their footprint that said, Claire walked on the moon tonight in kindergarten. It was very silly. And on the Promethean board, we'd have real images of the people walking on the moon, what it might look like. And it was a simple activity. In other rooms, they might do like word constellations. In another room, they might make the Oreo cookie moon cycles. There were a lot of different activities. The teachers got to choose what they did in their classroom, and the kids would kind of go through. And we'd be outdoors. Now, I was thinking about this, since it's a pandemic, it's not safe to do stuff like this, but I do think you could still, once it's allowed to have outdoor events, you could maybe play ET and project it and have some telescopes, and maybe if people were like on blankets, socially distanced, the telescopes could come to them and they could watch ET or Wally or something about space related that's appropriate for kids, and maybe have some other activities to do. I don't know. But one of the components I am going to teach you about that is totally safe to do is our recycled robot. All over the school for our stargazing night, we would have recycled robots everywhere that the kids made with their families. And basically, this is just taking that concept of reducing, reusing, and recycling and applying it to art and making a silly robot. This does not have to be functional. I have had functional robots come to my classroom, but this is just, it looks like a robot. It's just for fun. And there is a family project letter I'm giving to you guys that just tells families we have been learning about reducing, recycling, and reusing. Gather up some household reusable items and help your child create a robot out of ordinary household trash. Please send a photo to me you could put your email there and you could put the date. I will put together a slideshow of robots to share soon. Happy creating. And they need to name their robot, come up with some special robot skills, and also talk about, list some of the items that they're reusing. And as much as sometimes I think families are a little annoyed with projects like this, because it is like, gotta sit down and do something for a couple of hours, but it's so powerful and good. And they're always happy they did it when it's over. They're always happy they did it when it's over. And that's the power of a family project, is they do spend time with their child, talking to them, planning with them. It's a beautiful thing. And since we can't do a stargazer night, we could do a slideshow version of the Recycled Robot Museum. Another thing some of the teachers did in their classroom for Stargazer night, just making letter and name constellations. Some of the literature I included talks about constellations we can see, Big Dipper, Little Dipper, things like that. And the kids can design their names. They can design their own constellations. They can make some and connect the dots. I find that oil pastels work really well for black paper, but white crayons are my least preferred method, and dust-free chalk would also work. But I do prefer white oil pastels. It's a good investment if you can just get one box of all white oil pastels, which I did through a grant. They'll last you forever. You'll have them the rest of your career, because the kids don't ever get to pre-use. You just pull them out when you need a white oil pastel. Anyhow, Art, I'm just going to talk. We're almost through, but I do want to talk to you guys about, I'm going to stop for a second and just say, does anyone have any questions? Because I haven't stopped yet. And I realize that's something I should do more.
So Stephanie, I don't think anybody asked any questions. There were a couple comments. In fact, right before you shared the Oreo moons, one of the participants mentioned that a first grade teacher at her school did a moon project with the students so that they could see the phases of the moon using Oreos. So it was great that you reinforced that and showed the project. I also, in the chat box, shared a project that some years back, some of my friends were part of. It was through NASA, and it's called Train Like an Astronaut. So and I went on the website and linked it, but there's tons of free resources for the teachers. And so I encourage you all to check that out. There's both physical activities as well as classroom activities. And then also someone mentioned that you can purchase the freeze-dried ice cream, the astronaut ice cream, at Walmart in the camping section. I looked it up online, as well as I wanted to let you all know, in particular, if any of you receive one of the grants, I've been linking a number of things that Stephanie talks about on our Amazon Smile page. So if you purchase things through Amazon and you link Golden Apple Foundation of New Mexico as your benefactor, we get a little bit of money, and it's a great way to support Golden Apple through just shopping on Amazon. So if any of you do that or are inclined, it's just another way to do it. So Stephanie, keep on going. I think, oh, let's see. Jen is asking, will you be sharing all of this info via email? All I got was about Sun. Yes, so Jen, each week following, I send out to the group all of the resources that Stephanie has provided. Plus, we will be posting them on the Golden Apple website under our resource section. And all of her sessions are recorded and are living on our YouTube channel. So all right, I think I'm caught up for now, Stephanie.
Thanks, Pam. And if you ever can't find something, shoot me an email and I will get that right to you as well. I'm always glad to hear from any of you in my email or otherwise. And wow, what a great way to support Golden Apple Foundation. The reason that I can be here today presenting to you, great idea on the Amazon if that's where you're shopping. And that's pretty cool. Yes, lots of great resources. One thing I did not talk about in my PowerPoint presentation that I should bring up is Mission to Mars here in New Mexico, which is available to any fifth grade teacher. My husband is a gifted educator of gifted students at Monte Vista Elementary School, and he has participated in his entire career with his gifted students in that program, Mission to Mars, that is for any fifth grade class. It's well done. It's at the convention center every year in the spring, and it is very integrative. Oh my gosh, it's fabulous. And you get so much education and so many resources as an educator. So if you're fifth grade or you know somebody, definitely look into Mission to Mars. Other resources that are available, Art Hub for Kids. I love Art Hub for Kids. I love the dude who runs it. He's just so great at what he does. And they're very quick videos of guided drawing. And I've told my parents this entire pandemic, your kid can never do too much guided drawing. It's good for their fine motor skills. It's good for their drawing skills. It's good for their, being able to follow direct. It's good for them. Let them do it. That is the one thing on their iPads. I've told parents you can let them do that as much. It never is too much, in my opinion. It's because they're doing something. They're not just vegging out on the screen. They're actually drawing, and even doing the same drawing again and again is really great. And so I have linked in the lesson plan in here, Art Hub for Kids. Now, keep in mind, guys, every little video or a link to a lesson that I talk about in the PowerPoint also is in your lesson plan. And if you ever can't find something, holler at me and I'll fix it. I'm going to keep going. Art Hub for Kids is just fabulous. They do rockets, aliens. It's just so well done, and it's great for their spatial and fine motor skills. NASA's Eyes. This is a place where students can use a website to tour all known planetary systems outside our own solar system. They can search by planet or star, great for research. And this website is for interactive simulations for science and math, and it's a really great resource for students. I just want you to remember, as we're going back in-person learning, your school is full of walls that you can decorate with information for other kids to learn. I love the fact that students now can research. They all have an iPad or a MacBook here in APS. They all can do their own research. And as we're returning to schools, I thought it would be fun just to have kids find the most interesting facts they can find about space and make posters to hang up at 6 feet intervals around the school, not only to share our learning and educate other kiddos, but also to remind kiddos of the importance of social distance and give them something to look at when they're standing in the hallway waiting their turns even longer now that, less people in a room, things like that. So the resources today that you're going to be getting, sorry about that, are all listed here. I think I have 10 different resources, including our lesson plan and lots of writing prompts and your night sky observation journals. and your song cards. So I hope you enjoy those. Please do remember that Golden Apple mini grant. Gosh, you're so lucky to have that opportunity, but also make sure you don't forget about other places. Miss Claire got all the jars for weather jars, plus some right away on Buy Nothing Central New Mexico's Facebook page. And I just picked up a beautiful map from there for my classroom as well. I mean, if you ask people, the general public, you'll be surprised what you can get. And I just want to thank you for spending your entire month of March with me, 4 hours of your time. You are my heroes, and I value each and every one of you so much. And thank you for what you're doing for our students. You guys really are educating our future, and it makes a huge impact on all of us. So thank you so much. If anybody has questions, comments, some new idea for me, I'm definitely here to learn as well. I would love to hear from any of you. We have just a few more minutes before our hour is up. And that is my son in his astronaut costume.
That's great, Stephanie. That was terrific. One other I was going to mention is that some years back, there's a lady named Jean Blades Madigan who created, she called herself a neuroscientist and or a neurokinesiologist, something. She made up some term anyway. It was around movement, and she created a really great way to learn the continents to the song Frere Jacques or Are You Sleeping? And so it has movements as you learn the continents, and it made me think of yours. So maybe I'll share that with you sometime.
You're welcome to sing it a cappella for us, Pam, right now, if you want.
Well, I don't know how much of me you can see because I can't see myself.
I cannot see you at all right now, but
you can't see me because because it has movements to it. Tell you what, I'll share it with you, Stephanie, when we're together or one-on-one, in a minute, and then you're free to share it out. Maybe we'll videotape it or something. But it's a great way to understand the continents and where they're located.
Oh, wonderful. That sounds great. The song I sing was taught to me by the teacher I student taught for. And it's amazing how much I do from my student teaching experiences. I mean, I do a lot of the things. I had wonderful mentor teachers, and oftentimes I feel like I'm always trying to emulate everything they did and taught me. So I love that, and I think that would improve my song because my song is just singing them in order. I mean, it doesn't really have any kinesthetics with it. So
I think you'll really like this one. So Patty has made a number of comments, like just thanking you for the different ideas. She also mentioned that she does do the drawing activity every Friday that you were doing. I have to go back up a little ways of where she was talking about. Lisa mentioned, thank you for the ideas. I'll be teaching space the week we return. So she's excited for all the info.
Right.
I put a link in the chat box to Mission to Mars.
Thank you for that. And can I add something before I forget about what we were just talking about? Gosh, see, I'm already forgetting this is why I'm always like, I need to interject. I was just thinking it was about what the comment 2 comments ago. I wanted to add something to that, but it totally scraped my brain. I'm sorry, Pam. I probably now disrupted your train of thought.
No, was it about the drawings every Friday?
Yes, it was. Good for you. One thing you can tell students to encourage younger kiddos to write, okay, we're going to do guided drawing today, but we're only going to do it if you promise you're going to label your picture when we're done. And so it can be an incentive when really you're going to let them do it anyways. But okay, I guess I'll let you do another guided drawing, but you're going to have to label. I love kiddos labeling things because your kiddos, especially the ones with big ideas, they can't keep their little hands up with their ideas. And so it's great just to be like, it's okay to just write one word, just focus on one at a time. And so that's one way I use guided drawing in my classroom, is just labeling afterwards.
Great. And also for all of you that are still on, I will be sending a feedback form to you. If you complete it and send it back to us, I'll send you a certificate for attendance at the workshops. So if you need some CEUs or you need credits or so forth, it's a great way to get some of those. And so Stephanie, you're getting tons of accolades in the chat box about the series, that this has been great. And I totally agree. I've learned so much. And I feel like, in particular, this one session, we could have probably done 4 sessions on this one. But there's such an enormous amount of free resources out there for teachers. As you're listing all of them, and I'm putting things in the chat box for them, it's wonderful. So
And
it's
all
great.
4 of the sessions are incredibly interconnected, and that's something I'm pretty good at, is seeing kind of the web that comes out from any one topic and how everything connects together. And so even from, the social studies with Happy in My Skin and studying the sun, it all ties so well together. So I agree, Pam. I could have probably gone a few weeks on this one.
Well, does anybody have any other questions for Stephanie while we're still here? Because we've got about 5 more minutes. If you have any questions also about the grant and the application, please feel free to ask. I do hope that every single one of you applies. Please, please consider the application. I promise it is an easy grant. It's fast and quick, and that's how it's designed. Meaning the turnaround will be really quick. You potentially will have the money before the school year ends. So, you'll be ready to purchase items maybe over the summer. If you have items that you are already purchasing and you start the projects, you could still, use the money that you get to help pay for all of that. Anyway, I can't encourage you all enough to apply for these grants.
And resource lists are included in every lesson plan. If you need kind
Yeah.
of, when you're writing it, you just want to be like, what did she do? Like if there were some ideas and you want to refresh just your brain, just go right to that resource list. Oh, these are the books. These are the items that I should have with me.
Yeah. And also, anybody is eligible to apply for the grant. Everybody is eligible. There's no limits. So even though you may not be an early learner teacher, maybe you teach upper elementary, maybe you teach middle, or maybe you teach high school, you are still eligible to apply for the grant. The focus area for the grant was specific to elementary school, but I'm not going to limit anybody. So, for example, if you are a teacher outside those parameters of elementary, and you apply and we don't have a number of elementary applicants, or your application is better and a more clear, precise project, then you will probably get funded before. So just a couple things about that. I am going to, yes, Lisa's asking, will I email the link for the grant? I will be sending you all directly that link to apply. So anybody who signed up for this workshop or has been part of the Let's Do Science over the 4 weeks, you will get the grant application. And it will also be launching on the website. It'll be live April 2nd. You'll have about a 2-week period to apply for the grant and submit it. And then within 2 to 3 more weeks, we'll be letting you know whether you receive the grant or not. Oh, so look, see, now we can see everybody.
Because I stopped presenting.
Yes, that was a great idea.
I'm full of them, Pam.
I know
Thank
you are.
you everyone for being here. Barb, I think it's Barb who's in Florida. Safe travels and enjoy every last second of it. It was a real treat and treasure to have you all here. And if anyone needs to stick around to quickly ask a question independently or anything, I'm here. So no worries. I'm in no rush. It was beautiful spending time with you, and enjoy. Thank you, Anna. Enjoy, gosh, your spring break if you're in spring break. And I hope that all of you know that you are just fabulous. You're doing the job that really is the most important. I really do believe that this is life-changing work. So I appreciate you all. And being at a professional development 4 Thursday nights in a row says a lot about your dedication. So thanks
And
again.
again, kudos to Stephanie. I told her that every week I get responses saying how amazing her workshop was. And so stay tuned. This won't be the last you'll see of Stephanie. She's going to have to come back and do something else. Maybe down the road we'll be doing something in person and hybrid, and who knows. Maybe we'll be in the same room together next year doing something like this, which would be really fabulous. Yeah.
I would love to meet everyone. I would love to just sit down and have dinner and talk to all of you and learn from you guys, because every wonderful thing about my teaching was given to me by another teacher. I did not. I mean, we learn from each other, and we need great mentors. So thank you all for being part of this, and enjoy the rest of your school year. Keep on persevering and learning. We're going to take away a lot of learning from this year. That is inevitable.
That is true. All right. You all have a great evening and thank you for joining us. And look for an email from me very soon.